Welcome, everybody, to Confessions of a GroupX Instructor podcast. I am here again with Nicole.
Hello, it is so exciting to be here again.
Still, we're in our same exact clothes because we just recorded, part one of a two-part series. This is part two. The overall theme is cognition and brain health. And part one, if you missed it, go back and listen to part one, which was about sleep and the circadian rhythm, and had some great tips on just improving your personal sleep hygiene and how that improves your longevity, your life, helps prevent disease, and so many other things. But today, as it pertains to cognition and brain health, we are going to be talking with Nicole, who is expert about exercise and nutrition. Nicole, do you want to give yourself a brief little intro?
Without boring you too much again, what I do in my work is I help people poop. I'm a holistic nutrition uh, therapy master, board certified in holistic nutrition. I am not a doctor, and I do not treat, cure, or diagnose any disease. This is not medical advice, by the way.
No, but she can help you poop, let me tell you. I have testimonials.
Many. Probably some of your audience can give testimonials.
That's right. Okay, so let's dive in. So we're talking about cognition, and how does exercise and nutrition help our brains?
Okay, so I'll dive in first with exercise. They're kind of opposite sides of the same coin, I would say, when it comes to cognition and brain health. So it really doesn't matter where I start. I'll just start with exercise. Exercise helps to increase your what's called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Most people, if you're into the brain health and stuff, you've probably heard of it. BDNF is always kind of referred to as, like, you could think of it as miracle grow for the brain. It is a growth factor that increases connections in the brain. So not just does it increases like the neural connections, but it actually helps new neurons to grow. Yeah, so you can actually alter your risk of dementia by, implementing your own exercise regimen for yourself. Like you can maybe have dementia or Alzheimer's in your family, but that's not you're not your diagnosis or your family's diagnosis. There are things that you can do beginning today that can help to slow down and reverse Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. Did you have something you wanted to ask me about that?
I was just going to say, I believe this is what we refer to as epigenetics, right? Are you familiar with, or would you use that term in this sense, in this context?
Yeah.
It's how we can, maybe I'm predisposed. I mentioned this last week to my family history of Alzheimer's, so maybe I have a predisposition there, but things I can do to influence the gene expression, those expressions to affect my outcome. Like, so there are things that I can do to prevent Alzheimer's. There are things you can do.
Yeah. And some things I tell people, because a lot of times people kind of don't believe when we talk about genes that genes change, because we have a thought that your eye color is your eye color and that's genetic, right? But mostly all of our genes change. And I feel like one powerful example of that is smoking. That's a powerful example of understanding that genes change based on your choices.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example. What are some other examples of that, would you say? That's a great example.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of examples. If you work around asbestos, right, like it, there's things that we do that are so toxic for our bodies that we understand that you shouldn't do them. But if you're on a trajectory, people understand that smoking causes cancer. So millions and millions and millions of people in the world around the globe have had cancer that wouldn't ordinarily have had cancer if they didn't smoke. Well, what changed?
Right.
The smoke smoke, the toxin of the smoke changed your genetic expression of some part, some organ.
Well, and like you talked about in the episode that launched a week ago, but that we just recorded 10 minutes ago about night shift workers and sleep, and how you taught us that now, I think you said lack of sleep is considered a type 2 carcinogen or something. Am I using, is that exactly what you said?
Shift work is a type 2 carcinogen. So if you
That's
work
another
overnight,
example of lifestyle and genetic expression.
exactly. So in the reverse, you could do the same thing. You can choose all good things to fortify your body, your brain. What like we will be getting to nutrition in a little bit, but you know, what you eat obviously influences your genetic expression. All of our choices, you know, determine what our life is going to be about tomorrow. That's why I think too, like exercise is such a wonderful thing. Exercise, people who exercise are generally, when you are working out, that is an expression right there of you believing that there is a tomorrow. Otherwise, right, you just wouldn't be doing it, right? Because you're improving yourself for tomorrow. You're not improving yourself for today. You don't improve in that moment of working out.
Yeah.
That's why we have so much in common with the exercise community, not just that we love exercise. There's like a lot, it kind of runs deep. It's that optimism that you have. It's just a natural thing of working out.
That's amazing. I've actually never ever thought about it as profoundly as I just did in that moment. Like, it is a statement of optimism and hope,
Yeah.
and belief.
A belief in tomorrow. That's what it is, right? Because you're coming to your mat or whatever, you're coming to the gym, or because not in the, you know, even though we're working for that hour, you're actually improving yourself for tomorrow. So exercise during the day, we talked about this last week, where we detox our brain when we're sleeping, or our brain detoxes itself while we're sleeping. Exercise during the day actually helps the brain detox better at night.
Oh,
Proves its work.
okay.
Yep. The brain has something that was recently discovered, actually, called the glymphatic system. And what the brain needs to detox is part of those particles that we were talking about, amyloid plaque.
The amyloid. Yeah.
Yeah, I was losing what it was called for a moment. There's that
Ironically.
right. So it also, part of its job is to get that glymphatic system cleaned out, and exercise helps that.
Wait,
So
are you saying lymphatic?
glymphatic.
That's what I thought you were saying, but I've never heard of that word before.
Yeah, glymphatic is right, is the system in the brain. That's why I said it was recently discovered. It's the glymphatic system. So I'm actually not I don't have any specific expertise in brain function. You know, somebody who does would probably know what the glymphatic system actually does. I just know that the glymphatic system was recently discovered. It is part of the brain, you know, and it's something that's very important to also be involved in the detox mechanism that's going on when you're sleeping.
I have a question about exercise helping the brain while you're sleeping cleanse itself better, reset itself better. Is that because exercise tires you out, so you sleep better because your body has been fatigued by the demands you place on it? Or is it helping you reset your brain at night when you sleep better because of like the vascular, all the blood flow to the brain? Or
Both.
Both.
And then the other thing that's also beneficial, like I said at the end, I believe, of our last podcast, is about a schedule. The brain loves consistency. And so most people who exercise you're exercising typically around the same time of day, every day, most people. So that's the other thing that the brain also favors. So it's all those things, because the thing about exercise and the brain, which I didn't even touch upon yet, but you hit upon it already, is the blood flow. That's another reason why exercise is good for the brain. Anything that's actually good for the heart is also good for the brain.
Yes, this is right. That's right.
Yeah. And so blood flow, increasing oxygen to the brain. In fact, a fun little fact about pregnancy and the baby's developing brain is that women who exercise throughout pregnancy have babies that tend to have a higher IQ. And the reason they think that is blood flow to the brain.
Can I tell you something disgusting that you'll just love?
Sure, I love discussing.
Trigger warning for our audience. I'm gonna get real graphic about my placenta. No, but after I exercised during my pregnancies, and when and the you after the baby comes, the placenta comes, and literally the nurse was like, you obviously exercised a lot. This is a very healthy placenta. And I was like, how do you know? And she was like, well, women that smoke and are unhealthy, for the polar opposite, the placentas are like gray and you can tell they're poorly vascularized. And women that exercise have this richly colored, full of veins. And she's like, it's just obvious that you exercise, which is better blood flow, better oxygen delivery to the baby. It's pretty cool.
Yep. That is very cool.
It's pretty cool because when I was having babies, like I got some scrutiny. It was like, I don't know, like my mom thought it was like, she was from that age where she's like, that's dangerous. Like, and then I remember I was like working out in the gym, taking group exercise in Bend, Oregon. And we were doing a group fitness class with dumbbells, and I was pregnant, like not very, but I wasn't very far. I wasn't showing very much or maybe at all. It was pretty early on. And I put the dumbbell on my tummy for a second. I don't, and like some lady like yelled at me for putting a dumbbell like on my tummy. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, it's just, I think today we know, but kind of when I was having babies, it was still almost taboo to work out.
Right. But now they know that it's like so much benefit
So much for baby and mom. Baby and mom.
Yeah, exactly. Baby and mom. So another thing when we're exercising, again, back to kind of a little bit about hormones, there's a way that, like, how does the brain know to fortify your bones when you're exercising? Like the brain has to communicate these things, and these things get communicated to the brain. Because you probably know people whose cognition declined steadily if they weren't moving, if they were suddenly forced, unfortunately, into a wheelchair and it was not their fault. Their brain cognitive function declines when we don't move. When we are moving, there's a hormone called osteocalcin that is released from our bones, goes into the bloodstream, and it is beneficial to the brain. The brain receives these messages from the osteocalcin that the body is being used. So osteocalcin is something that the bones need. And so it's released into the bloodstream to let the brain know, like, we are being used. And that is one of the mechanisms that strengthens the bones through both weight-bearing exercise, weightlifting. So our body's like really quite magical.
I didn't know that. I thought the bones were strengthened during weight-bearing exercises because the muscle pulls on the tendon, which is attached to the bone. So I thought that mechanism of like the tugging, the pulling, the resistance is what strengthened the bone.
Well, it is. That's also, I was just connecting to the exercise to the brain, that the brain actually also gets the message that the bones need strengthening. But you're right, because any stress that we put upon the body has to react to.
Adapt.
Right. It has to adapt. Exactly. So no, you're 100% correct. I was just in the context of exercise and brain activity. The osteocalcin is actually a hormone that is sending messages to the brain that the bones need extra strengthening. So again, the bones are going to do it based on what you're doing to them, based upon the stress you're putting upon it from the ligaments, the tendons, and all of that, but the brain is involved.
So rewind a second to where you were talking about movement and cognition and the example of the wheelchair and someone's cognitive function going down once they become immobilized or less mobile. Is it, so then like, you know how these like walking, you know how Shalene made walking popular? You know how Shalene invented walking?
Yeah, Shalene invented walking.
So Shalene invented walking. So now everybody has the walking device.
We never heard of walking before until Shalene.
No, she invented that, you know. And so anyway, so if you're like walking and working, is that a more productive way to work? Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, studies show that people who exercise are more productive. And if you do exercise, let's say you exercise at lunchtime, or walk. I never thought of walking before until Shalene did it. That in the afternoon, you're more productive than the people who don't walk at lunch.
So that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. But it's so funny that we both knew what we both meant about how she invented walking without ever talking about that before. But no, that's not what you meant. No, I mean in the moment. It's like, okay, let me say it better. Let's say I have to take a test. Or I have to be on like an important meeting and retain information. Or I'm listening to a podcast and I want to soak it all in. If I'm walking and moving during that, is my brain functioning better in the moment? That's what I was wondering.
Yes. Actually, also studies do show, there was a whole book written about it, and I wish I remembered what it was. It's such a good book about exercise and students' performance. And they had kids, and it was in a suburb of Chicago, do a fitness class. Not gym where people are sitting around and waiting for their turn, like a literal fitness class, like running the track. They had like a, like a wearable.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a goal to hit a particular percentage of their max heart rate. And those students that had that gym fitness class before an exam did better, hands down, time and time again, no matter how many times this experiment was performed. The people that exercise before a test do better on the test.
Yes, I kind of know that. And actually, side note, when we do our instructor certifications for our warrior formats, one of the very first things we do in the morning after we break the ice and do introductions is we do the workout. And it's because I want them, first of all, it takes any like jitters away, the like nerves of like, am I going to be, do I, how's this day going to go? And sometimes there's nerves and stuff coming into a training. It just kind of like really breaks the ice. But it helps people, their mood, helps them relax, but it helps their brain function for the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. A couple other things about exercise, although I've probably convinced you at this point. You probably want to know how much you need. 150 to 180 minutes of exercise per week improves cognitive function and blood flow to the brain.
I'm not good at math, just like I'm not good at geography.
So 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week. 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week.
Does it need to be spread out like that, or is it okay if it's like an hour? Yeah.
It doesn't have to be spread out. I mean, it could be however you could get it. I mean, 10 minutes broken up 3 times in a day is still beneficial. And in some studies show is more beneficial than a 30-minute session. It depends on for what reason, but like for blood glucose control, you might be better off with a 10-minute walk 3 times a day after each meal. But regardless, however you can get it in is beneficial, whether it be 30 minutes, an hour, 3 times a week, however it takes you to get that 150 to 180 minutes. And cardiovascular workouts and weightlifting workouts are both beneficial. People tend to think that cardiovascular work is more important for brain function, but that's not actually true. There's a lot of things that have to do with strength training that are very beneficial for your neurons, specifically motor neurons. But grip strength is one way that it's well established to be directly correlated to cognitive function as you age when assessing grip strength. Strength.
I just like reached out to you earlier this week because I was interested in this information I heard about creatine and muscle development and leg strength related to heart strength related to brain health and cognition. And it was really truly like connecting the strength of your legs to the strength of your heart to the strength of your brain and how creatine play a role in that.
Right. Yep. Creatine as well. So yeah. So with grip strength, that's the upper motor neurons apparently are helping with grip strength, whereas you're more like your lower motor neurons are not as, I guess, you don't have to think as hard about things like if you're running versus like a compound, difficult, challenging movement that we might do in a strength or an agility workout.
Oh, that's what you mean when you're saying upper motor neurons?
Yes. Yeah, more like, yeah.
So upper motor neurons, which are associated with grip strength, tend to involve more brain power?
It involves more brain power in that you're using your lower motor neurons in most exercise, but in grip strength and other weight kind of lifting things, you're using your upper motor neurons. So that gets the whole thing. In other words, because if you're gripping something, you're probably doing something else while you're gripping it, right? Maybe lunges, squats, whatever. So the lunges and the squats are down at the lower motor, and the grip strength is the upper motor neuron. So then you're getting more involvement. Whereas cardiovascular work, not to say it's not good, it is good, but it's not involving the same amount of neurons as weight training.
Okay, I'm glad that you're making this point because this is something that I would not have assumed, because I know that there's like vascular dementia, like there's types of cognitive decline and some really related to the vascular system. And so I would be the person that would think that doing cardio is more beneficial to brain health than doing strength training. So it's great to be corrected on that point and to know that they're both equally valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. I hope I convince everyone that I ever talk to about exercise to pick up a damn dumbbell. That's my goal in life, and poop better. Okay.
Pick up heavier weights and poop really well. Okay.
Yeah. So we can go on to nutrition now.
Do it.
That was the stuff about exercise that I wanted to share. So food is cognitive fuel. You can think of it as, food is information for not just our whole body, but also for our brain. So not only what you eat, but what you absorb. So comes always back to pooping. If you're not digesting your food, could be eating really great food, but if you're not digesting, then it's not getting through the small intestine into your bloodstream to be delivered to all the places that need it. Right. So just to start off with digestion, I just needed to state that.
If you didn't hear last week's episode, you might not know why we're like talking about poop so much, but Nicole really did help me poop really well.
Right. So you got to go back.
Otherwise, you're just going to think we're wild.
Right. You're going to think we're crazy.
She changed her whole bio for this episode, this part 2.
I think it's going to be my new bio. You might find
the next time on your new bio, you're going to have to add the weights. You're going to be like, help people poop, help them pick up heavy weights.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to see a whole new thing. So essential brain nutrients, monounsaturated fats. I'll tell you where to get them. Antioxidants to help with oxidative stress, really important. The gut-brain axis, we know that they're connected. Tell you where to get those nutrients that are important for that. And again, you want to combat oxidative stress and inflammation. And these are things that don't get done if you don't sleep well. So again, go back to 1, episode 1 of this 2-part series. Creatine, you can find that Ellen just mentioned. Creatine, we think about creatine for muscle growth, which is mostly where we've heard about it, but it's really been shown to be very important in cognition. So really good stuff for your brain. So avocados, nuts, I talked about monounsaturated fats. Blueberries, all berries, but the most antioxidant rich fruit is probably blueberries.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so antioxidants we hear about all the time, and we maybe hear oxidative stress, but an antioxidant is something that will squelch those oxidized molecules. You could think of oxidative stress as like oxidized compounds in your body.
Okay.
They're just, they're just toxic. Your body shouldn't have them. Your body's
Almost
naturally.
like, you just made me think of almost like when you said oxidized, it almost made me think of like rust on a car.
Correct. It's 100% great way to think of it.
So our
Is rust in
blueberries
the car.
help get the rust out of our car.
Correct. And the rust is a normal process of life. We're all going to have rust,
Yeah.
but we need to combat the rust with good food.
Right.
Broccoli, all cruciferous vegetables are good for the brain. So if you need some examples besides broccoli, like cabbage, cauliflower, which again, I said earlier, anything that's good for the heart is good for the brain. You've probably heard of eating a lot of cruciferous vegetables in the way of both digestion and as anti-tumor foods. Broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, cauliflower, those sorts of things are also anti-tumor.
Yes. As an aside, again, as being someone formerly very eating disordered, high fibrous foods, high protein foods, and healthy fats keep the overeaters in us at bay. The satiety factor of high fiber, high protein, healthy fats. It's real hard to overeat when you're eating whole foods that fit into those categories. It's very hard to overeat. Like if you're a compulsive overeater or ever have been, like me, that's a ticket. That's a ticket.
Yeah, you can't eat too much broccoli. I mean, it'll just be full.
No.
Beets, rosemary, lion's mane, reishi mushrooms.
Oh, wait. Rosemary. Lion. Oh, they're antioxidant rich?
They're good for the brain.
Oh,
Good
okay.
for the brain. Yeah. Yeah.
Chi mushrooms, you said?
Yeah, reishi mushrooms, lion's mane mushrooms. And we know that there's a gut-brain connection. So consuming a lot of prebiotic food. Garlic is a prebiotic food. Onions, they have a lot of, there's a compound in them called allicin, I think it's called, or Allison, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's ALYCIN. Really good for the gut, and again, good for the brain. So they communicate through the vagus nerve. We used to think many years ago that the vagus nerve was how the brain communicated to the gut, but actually it's bidirectional, and the gut communicates to the brain, which is one of the reasons why anxiety is thought to be rooted actually in as a gut disorder.
Yes, I believe that. Yes, and depression as well. Yes.
Depression as well. In fact, back to exercise. Exercise has been found to be just as powerful, if not more so, than an antidepressant in treating anxiety and depression.
I believe it.
So at least start there.
Wait, before you move on, I want to back up to the garlic and onion thing. So you said those are good prebiotic foods?
Yes.
Okay. I don't like them. I'll tell you why, because we're on the Confessions of a GroupX Instructor podcast, and I can tie it all together with our group exercise audience. I don't like the way people smell. I'm super sensitive to smell and odor, and I don't like the way people smell when they sweat and they've consumed a lot of garlic. It's so offensive to me. Like, I mean, it makes me actually nauseous. Like, it makes me a little bit nauseous. I'm super sensitive to that odor. So I don't actually ever want to smell like that myself. Because I'm around people and I sweat and then I'm talking to them after class and giving them a hug and stuff like that. So I have just found myself over the last few years, maybe because I don't know. We also live in a hippie town, so people like wear garlic around their necks and like eat it raw constantly. So maybe that's all it is. But is there anything else instead
Asparagus,
of garlic and onion?
asparagus. There's a lot. There's actually a lot.
Love asparagus.
There's a
I
lot.
love asparagus, and I don't even care if someone's pee smells weird because I'm not gonna smell it.
Yeah, it's so asparagus, sauerkraut, sauerkraut without like
Oh yes.
garbage added to it, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
true fermented foods, true fermented.
Fermented foods, that's right. Kombucha?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Kombucha. You just have to, is that the one where you just have to be careful if there's like a lot of added sugar in there. Like what are they doing to the kombucha? So kombucha is good. You just have to check the ingredients.
Some people out here make their own. They have the like spore and do their own kombucha in their basement.
Oh, wow.
Hippie town.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I am the person that I laughed at 20 years ago.
Oh,
100%. Yes, 100%. I'm like the granola person that I laughed at 20 years ago. So, MCT oil, also good for the brain. You can add it to your shakes. You might have heard about that.
yeah.
The choline in eggs. So for the love of God, I know most people are on board that they are now eating the yolk, the whole egg, right?
Yes.
That whole thing about egg whites.
Yes.
Do not even
How
say egg
before
whites.
yolks got thrown away.
I know, right? It's crazy.
It was
Crazy.
it's part of the whole like diet culture, that whole just
Well, and that also might be why we're seeing a rise in Alzheimer's and dementia in that generation who
no
didn't eat
doubt.
egg yolks.
No doubt.
So choline
The
really
food
is
guide pyramid, that food guide pyramid is why we're seeing a rise in it.
exactly biggest scam ever. Green leafy vegetables like kale, spinach, omega-3s, salmon, fatty fish, walnuts. If you're vegan, walnuts, flax seeds. You just have to eat a lot more of them to get what you actually need. So a vegan might need to take an omega-3 supplement because it's just hard to get all the omegas you need from nuts. Pumpkin seeds are a powerhouse food. They have zinc, they have the omegas, they are high in protein, they're high in leucine for muscle building. So add pumpkin seeds to your life, whether it be like you're throwing them in your yogurt, your, whatever, maybe
They're
your granola.
so fun to roast. They actually like dance like popcorn.
Yes, 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 they do. That's very true. Yep.
Does it take away any of their nutritional value to roast them, or is it raw? Are they better raw, or is it okay to roast them?
Yeah, no, it's okay to roast them. Yeah,
Pumpkin seeds.
fine. Yeah, and whatever way you like them so that you're eating them. I think I covered all of the important nutrients. But I did have another challenge. So if I listed anything that you don't eat,
Garlic and onion.
yeah, so that doesn't mean eat something you don't like. But if don't like means you never tried it because you don't think you would like it, then that doesn't count.
Okay.
Grow up, put your big girl pants on, and try a new food.
Okay.
Integrate at least 3 new brain healthy foods into your diet. That's my challenge. I gave you a challenge last week for your brain, for your circadian rhythm and your sleep health. This week your challenge is to integrate at least 3 new brain healthy foods into your diet that you have not had before.
Okay, that's excellent. I'm trying to think. I don't do mushrooms and I like them. I need to. Like, I didn't even know you were talking about mushrooms at first when you said lion's mane and reishi.
Lion's mane, reishi.
You're just gonna
But you could try it. You could try any mushroom. Those 2 particular mushrooms are really good for the immune system and the brain. But yeah, if it's something you don't eat a lot of, then
yeah.
I get it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Wow. I love it. Wait, do we get another? Do you have another confession? Are you going to be able to come up with another one?
I guess I did think of that like in the interim. So I could tell you another confession. It's not as good as the last one.
Don't tell them. They make them go back and listen. Okay.
Oh no, I'm not going to tell them. You've got to go back and listen. But that one's really good confession.
Really was.
So I take off 2 months to go down the shore, and that's like a huge priority in my life. But I go back and forth all the time, which was a drudgery. So I kind of took the whole summer off. I'm not going back for classes, except I did keep my one like favorite class. And so I didn't lie to my supervisors. My supervisors know where I am, that I'm down the shore and I'm just keeping one class on Thursday night. But I kind of like lied to my other classes because I didn't want them to feel bad. And I said that I had to come back for some other thing. And that's why I kept that other class. So can I say it? I mean, should I
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
Of course, it's like, yeah, it's yours. So the class that I loved to teach and didn't give up for the summer was Warrior Rhythm, my Thursday night class. So that
So
is the class I'm going back for. So I told a little white lie to my other.
she told him a little white lie because she doesn't want them to feel guilty that she's making this monumental effort to go back once a week from her sacred 2-week vacation at the shore. She's making it sound like there's another reason she's going back, but she's really not. She's just going back for them. You're gonna have to send them the link to this episode and
Yeah,
confess to
absolutely.
them.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's
all right. Well, this was another great episode. Extra great because you take the time to explain things in a way that's palatable for like the layperson and the fitness pro that, isn't as well read and researched as you. So I love it. And also, I really appreciate that you give us some practical, actionable items. So, tell everyone how they can find you and follow you and support you and all that you're doing.
Well, thank you again for having me. It's such a thrill to be able to talk to you and your audience. And, we have so much in common. So you can find me at NicolePrinton.com. That's my website. And on Instagram, I'm Nicole Printon. Facebook, Nicole Printon also. And I would love for you to join my Facebook group. It's Nicole's Nutrition and Wellness Facebook group where I do a talk every now and then about something relevant to nutrition or health.
Yeah, that's great. I'm in that group, super valuable. And so I'll put all those links in the show notes so that you can revisit the episode and just literally click on them. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks again.